Hello, beautiful souls. It is yoga chat time once again. I'm excited, waiting for Sunny B to join us once again. I'm going to send this to a few people. Beep, boo. While I wait. Hi. Hey, Sunny. Accepted it, right? Yay!
Hey, friend.
Hey, Sarah. Hi. I'm sending the live out to people currently, like how I did last week, so we can get a few viewers.
I was like,
Here.
what just happened? Happy Tuesday.
Yes, happy Tuesday to you. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. It's been a busy day. How about you?
Very busy. Very busy. But I'm happy to be home. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited about this week's topic. So I guess I should tell them now. Just
do it.
And okay. So this topic, thank you. This topic, toxic traits of yoga. As we were sitting down and deciphering like what we were going to be talking about, we realized how extensive this is. So this is going to actually be a two-parter. So in the beginning I was like, hey, I want to do 3 episodes. It's actually going to be 2 episodes, and then so next week instead of doing the meditation, we'll do part 2 to toxic traits of yoga, and then we'll do the meditation the following week. So yeah, this is a 4-part series on us.
Yeah. I mean, how sad was that? Like, we were going over the list of all the topics of this particular, the things to talk about with this particular topic. And it was like, ooh, I don't think 30 minutes is going to be and I mean, we're still skimming over everything, but yeah.
I'm thinking this might have to be a 2-parter. I'm like, as I was typing the list, I was thinking that, but definitely it's the fact that we were able to do that. So we can jump right into it. And Sunny, I don't have my notes. I'm so unprepared. I left my stuff at work. I'm not even gonna lie. And I texted it to you from the phone I'm recording on. So
hey, there's my friend Eric and Ms. Du Jour. I love my friend Du Jour. And I just want to throw out there that if anybody's looking for a free yoga class, Du Jour does a free yoga class every Wednesday. It's 9 a.m. Pacific time, so wherever you do this. And it's a lovely class. So I gotta give a shout out to my friend. Oh, there's Superstar. Oh, yeah. I love seeing all these beautiful faces or these names popping up of all these beautiful people I know. So what we were mostly talking about today, we were talking about the toxic. I mean, there's some toxic attributes to yoga, unfortunately. I mean, and it's like that with everything. There's the good and the bad. But several of the things that we wanted to talk about was cultural appropriation, which we could spend 2 hours on that alone. Whitewashing of yoga, discrimination, experiencing discrimination, and the absence or
absence of spirituality, like the disconnect.
The disconnect of the spirituality.
Those are topics we will be covering. Thank you, Sunny, for being here.
I had to write them all down for myself. They're all right in front of my face. So
and I'm like, good. I normally write them down in my handy book, but I was like, I didn't write them down. I wrote them on a sticky note, and I'm like, it's on my desk at work.
So I mean, like, cultural appropriation, like this is like become this big buzzword right now, and I worry that with all of the discussion and everything that's going on about it, like, I don't want us to water down the importance of this and figuring out what this is and just getting a better understanding of what it is and how we can make those changes.
I think when it comes to cultural appropriation, it's understanding where what you're studying and what you're practicing, where it's coming from, and finding places where the voices that it's coming from actually speak. So for me, one podcast and book that I really heard is called Yoga is Dead. They I love that podcast. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
If anybody following has not ever listened to the Yoga is Dead podcast, or if it's like me and it's been a few years, like go back and listen to it. Oh my gosh, amazing stuff. And the most important thing is that we're learning from Indian, South Asian teachers when they're teaching us this. We're listening to those voices, and that's a major part of the appropriation that we need to be aware of, is who are our teachers, who's representing yoga for us.
Exactly, and elevating those voices of where it came from. So or people who, like, yoga is their culture. It's intertwined and weaved into their culture, into their belief systems. And when you take that and sum it down into a class that someone can condense into 200 hours, it's taking the importance and the significance of what is their tradition and their livelihood and using it for, like, let's say a trend, or even just for like capitalistic purposes. That is what, like, how can I profit off of something that has cultural significance to another country or to another person or to another, group of people? And that's what definitely does happen in this community a lot. I think in the podcast, I think it was in this podcast, the Yoga is Dead podcast, she was referring to how she went to a yoga studio, and one of the yoga teachers had one of the deities or one of her god, like the figures of her gods, on a shoe rack. And to her, that was disrespectful. When she tried to bring it to the instructor's position, like attention, she was kind of very much so dismissed. And it's like when someone who lives and breathes the culture brings something to your attention, like, hey, this is something that definitely is bothering me, or this is something that is making me uncomfortable. It's our job to really be opening to learning and not be defensive, because sometimes we don't know. And I think that was definitely something that we needed to toss into this conversation when we're discussing yoga.
Exactly. And anytime, and we see this in so many different ways, when dominant culture comes in and starts borrowing and taking and using certain things of the practice that doesn't belong to them from the culture, and making it fit their definition or their thing, or trying to recreate it, and then especially trying to profit off of this. Like, this is where we're talking about cultural appropriation in yoga. Like, there's a lot of things like that.
Yes. So, like, in some places, there's a way of learning appreciation and appropriation and knowing the difference between the two. And I think that that's something that we should definitely explain. So for me, I tend not to use, like, Sanskrit. Using Sanskrit in yoga is a big one. And I feel like if you take the time to learn and engross yourself in learning the language, understanding where it is. So, like, for me in my class, I try not to use it because I am still new and learning. And what I do not want to do is misrepresent something while I'm profiting and using it for my benefit. No, I want to use it when I understand why and how and where it's supposed to be used, and the pronunciation about it. And some people don't even take the time to learn the pronunciations of something that is like sacred language. They just use it because it sounds good and they hear someone else saying it, and then it's like, oh, I'm going to use this because this is what I see everyone else doing, instead of actually learning about it, understanding the Bhagavad Gita and how to use these proverbs. And not just saying them. I remember specifically, I went to a class, and a guy was just speaking Sanskrit the entire time while he's, like, giving a meditation in Sanskrit. And it's like, are you using this because it's something that you really do and it's a part of your practice, or is it something that you're just using so that you sound intelligent and sound aligned to get people's money? And that's where you have to know the difference. And even if you are still using it, and what I find is that people who really use it and really devote it to their practice, they have absolutely no problem, like, giving credit to where it's supposed to go. And 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be a white face, if that makes sense. And that's where the appropriation comes in. It's like learning how to elevate the voices that matter.
Exactly. Oh, Superstar says clout. Yes, to have that. I like that. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love Ruth too. You know, that comes up. We hear the whole question about whether or not using namaste in the class is appropriate, how it's appropriate, and then even like the way that it's marketed, like on T-shirts or putting in the like sometimes you'll see an expletive put in with namaste, or you'll see like the little you know, namaste in bed or something like that, or things like that. Like that's a really gross, obvious appropriation, and we want to try to stay away from. We can stay away from them. It's not even a lot of effort. Like we can stay away from that, right?
You need to revamp a word to market it without, and then it's also changing the meaning of what the word is. And there's something that is really grotesque in taking something that is meant to be not only for all, but understood by all, and using it for your own purpose. There's a selfishness, because not only are you taking it away, but someone who is new to it, when they see it, it is now watered down. They're not really getting the connection and not getting the full value from the word and from what is being said, because you're giving them what you perceive it to be, as opposed to giving it its true definition. That's when you're appropriating, because it's not appreciating if you have to change it to fit your narrative or to fit your like, you know, what you want, like your pockets. That's what's happening. And yeah, so that was the first one, right? I think we all agree that cultural appropriation is something that we see in the toxic culture.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that we can do to show our appreciation, like you mentioned earlier, rather than appropriation. And part of that is listening to and practicing with Indian and South Asian teachers. Listen to these things. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation had we not already learned, you know, and spent the time and the energy learning from these teachers, these voices who come from this culture and are educating us. Like, we're not coming in here and trying to redo, and we're not trying to speak over them. We're trying to amplify what they have already taught us. Exactly. I would never put myself out there as an expert in this, but I'm taking and speaking, and I won't even go into a whole lot of details with this, because this is where we need to be listening to Indian and South Asian teachers. Learning about appropriation, putting down our defenses, and being like, if someone says, like the woman in the yoga studio when she said, you know, you shouldn't put this deity in this place, you know, and the studio owner or teacher or whatever got very defensive, you know, we want to try not to respond these ways. And we're going to drop certain parts of the practice that can be, that if they are appropriative. You know, like I stopped saying namaste at the end of class. I do say it at the beginning when I say it, and you were saying that you dropped using a lot of the Sanskrit, you know, and if it's not something that feels like it's a part of your culture and your practice, is to not perpetuate that. But most importantly, you know, seek out the education, pay those teachers to take a workshop with them, pay those teachers to take classes with them, do this, and let's learn. You know, we're not going to go down to the convenience store to learn about, you know, you're not going to go down to the convenience store to learn about me, right? Yeah. Like, you're going to go to the, well, no, you know, you're not going to go there. we're going to go to the sources and the source and the people who are part of this life, who have grown up in this, and listen, like, just sit down and listen. Yeah. That's such an important part.
That is. I think you, yes, that's, look at us, already getting it. So,
you know, so much has been appropriated out of India. We need to just remember that India was occupied by the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, and eventually the British. And they ruled for 300 years. So much has been taken, stolen, borrowed, appropriated from this culture. And we just really need to keep a lot of it. Well, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I
Yeah.
said many others too.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, definitely. Like when you think of like Kundalini yoga and like there's so many yin yoga. There's so many different aspects of yoga where it's not even just like when we think yoga, we automatically go to India, like where the roots of it are. But there's so many other aspects of so many other countries where they were also appropriated as well. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with which kind of brings us into the second topic, like whiteness, like them trying to whitewashing a lot of yoga things. When you see, if you type in yoga into Google, like the first 20 figures that pop up are of white, thin, able-bodied women. And that is not what yoga is. Like yoga should be for everybody. It should be, like we said, this kind of in our inclusivity one, but I feel like it's going a little bit deeper into how there is a specific look that goes with yoga when it comes to yoga and fitness and looking a certain way and having a certain aesthetic to why you practice. It really gets you away from the root of why and how you're doing it. So I think that that's something that we should definitely discuss.
Well, and that's another way where dominant culture has whitewashed yoga also, is making yoga more of a fitness practice, a workout, and less of the spiritual practice, which even dips into how spirituality has been whitewash is deep here. Yes. And then we see where they're taking these practices and goat yoga, beard yoga, even hot yoga is quite a bit of, just because of the way it can be presented, like, oh, do this hot yoga so you can remove the toxins, which is all, and forgetting, yes. And Kelly's like saying, and forgetting the limbs of yoga, and forgetting all of the things that are behind the practice. We've really whitewashed this.
Yes. And I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand, the whitewashing and deteriorate from the spiritual aspects, because again, it's giving a condensed version of it. It's how can we take this to fit the narrative of, okay, we need people to look marketable, we need to be able to make money out of it. How can we fit this into the capitalism box? Yeah, but bunny marketing for profit. Yes, is that what you're saying? Yes, it's always for a profit. And when you're doing something for a profit, when you're taking something that was meant to be for spiritual purposes, and you put profit before the spirituality, then you're not really going to get the outcome. That's why you see people get straying away from it or not feeling like it's not for them. They're turned off by it because it's more of a like, I don't fit into the box or the package that you're telling me this is. I shouldn't look like that. Yes, yoga has become so aspirational. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to read sometimes.
No, you got it.
Yeah, it has become so aspirational. It's like, you can do this. Like, almost like it's like, all right, full body workout. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but when do you get in touch to tune in? Because there are moments in my practice, definitely with Vinyasa Flow, where I push the sensations, I push in challenging yourself. So that's completely fine. But it's more of a like, you're not challenging yourself. Like, no, if you can't sit and plank for 30 minutes, then you're not for this. This class isn't for you. And it's like, when did we make that switch? In my first YTT, I was instructed to spoon feed with something people would buy and then get them in the door for real yoga. Wait, what?
Yeah, so I think I might know what Kelly's talking about, because I always taught the same thing in my YTT, is that if those specialty yogas got people to try it and then would draw them into the studio. So they were using, like you were saying, using the marketing, the yoga as a way to market, to bring in more students. Yeah, Kelly says yes. And that's what we were told. And that's how it was justified. Like, it's justified in this way. Like, if you do this, we'll bring in people who wouldn't come into the studio. Okay, well, let's bring them. Maybe they're not coming in because they're not getting what they're looking for, or, in how many ways than one.
And because
they're.
Go ahead. No, you go.
because maybe when they come to the class, the teacher doesn't look like them.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe when they come to the class, they're not getting from there what they want. I mean, right now we have, in the West, we have completely reduced yoga down to yoga poses in cute pants for Instagram. Sorry, Instagram, but that's what we've reduced yoga to, is a workout class in cute yoga pants for photo opportunities.
And then it's like, it's also, I feel like there is a white of yoga has to be luxury. Like, there's so many times where I'm seeing like, you have to be able to do yoga on the beach, or you have to be able to do yoga in these things. And I'm all for doing yoga in nature. That's why I do my yoga in the parks. But it's about how we're marketing it, and how are we, like, for me, the reason why I do it is for my connectivity to nature, to bring you back into the spiritual aspect, where it's like, let's go on this retreat and you pay us like $5,000 to have this big yoga retreat, and during the whole aspect, there is no workshops about self-care. There are no workshops. It's more like a fit, like you have vendors and fitness, and you guys are just on like a beach doing yoga and not really honing into the aspects of what the 7 limbs of yoga are. You're not really showing any homage or tribute into anything. Superstar, my teacher put it in that yoga as fitness can be a way to present more psychological topics. They come
in for the workout.
Yeah, for the workout, and leave and with something more worked on me. Yes, and that's okay. I'm not saying that yoga can't be with fitness, because there is, but it's an aspect of making people feel like that's the only bubble for yoga. Like, that's the only way that it's marketed. Yoga is about accessibility and inclusivity. So it's like, if you want to have that, you have to make sure that other people can still have aspects. And even if it's like, okay, this is a fitness class, but then offer different ranges. And some places where that's not the case, it's like, this is fit yoga, and if you can't fit into what fit yoga is, then this isn't for you, and maybe yoga is for you. And that's toxic, because not everybody is aligned with that.
Right. And so, like, my friend Diane explains it as like, there's yoga with a big Y, where you're including the culture, the philosophy, the meditation, the breath practices, everything. And then there's yoga with a little y, which is just reducing it to asana, just reducing it to the poses. Yeah. The hearts. Look at all the hearts. I guess that was a good one. Yeah. My friend, if anybody knows Diane Bondi, like, that's one thing that she explains a lot when she's explaining like yoga. And I like that. Yoga with a big Y and little y. And, and then also being really honest about it too. If this is a workout class, call it that.
Yes.
Don't be like, this is yoga. I mean, you can say, call it what it is. It's okay. Be honest, Truth in advertising. Satya, right?
Yeah.
Superstar. So Superstar, I'm going to tell you a little secret here, Superstar. She also runs the Yoga Barbie Doll page. And Yoga Barbie Doll right now is doing the 8 limbs of yoga. She is sharing all of these. So Yoga Barbie once a week is doing Satya and all of these things and doing an explanation. So I love that she has taken Barbie, who has not been, a really great example for most of us. But she is using these beautiful dolls that are coming in different sizes and all of this, and using this platform to teach, like, the big why.
Yeah.
I love it. Yoga Barbie Doll page is amazing. It's one of my favorite Instagram pages.
Because, I used to hate Barbie dolls. I used to pop the heads off when I was a kid. I'm so sorry. A different place. Yeah. But no, I think that is amazing, and I'm definitely going to check that out, because I love that. I was actually thinking about doing something like that, like explaining it on my page, going through the 7 limbs of the yoga, because some people don't even know what it is. But it brought me up to another thing, like rolling, because I like to just keep rolling into our topics, you know what I'm saying? So what is like the discrimination that a lot of people face because they don't fit into that specific box, which is what is off from yoga. I've had so many people tell me like, oh, yoga's not my thing, because they feel like the way that it's marketed, they're discriminated against. You know what I'm saying? They know that they won't be fully accepted in that space because that space is not made for them. You know what I'm saying? And so in a way, it is discriminatory. You know, like how you were saying last week, they wouldn't even sell you a membership because you didn't fit the aesthetic that they thought that you should have being a person that wants to do yoga. And that is something that is really toxic. I don't know if anyone who's watching has ever felt discriminated against when they went into or felt unwelcome, feelings of unwelcomeness, feelings of like they don't belong. That is toxicity in yoga. That is things that we need to work on in our community if we are supposed to be a community that is uplifting and supposed to be of love and support and acknowledging of awareness of how we're making people feel. You know, like one of the first things is like no harm to self or others. And there are so many ways that we are being harmful just by the way that we market our classes. I would never want someone to think that my class is not for them, because my class is for everyone, like all ages, so like that's what it is. I don't want someone feeling like, oh, I can't come to this class and feel discriminated against because they have or do not have something that is marketed, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. I have some friends who are teachers who are women of color, and they will teach exclusive spaces for people of color and have been criticized for that, which I completely disagree with. There needs to be these safe spaces because it's so prevalent out there in yoga studios for people of color to walk into a studio space and not feel welcomed, not be treated fairly, not be welcomed when they walk in the door, to not be able to drop into their practice fully because it's they're on guard and they need to have these safe spaces. I mean, what are some of your experiences with this?
For me, I have definitely walked into spaces and then it's like, it will be me and maybe one other person who's a person of color. And there will be a discomfort because we just look at each other and it's like, it's just us. And we nod to each other and it's like, why is it not a space? And then it's like, if we were to say, oh, we just want an all Black class, like a class where it's just all people like us, then it's like, there's this need for some people to want to invade those spaces. And it's like, there's never a space for just us. There's always a space where you guys can walk in and out and feel 100% comfortable. And I don't think people understand that it's not that you guys make us uncomfortable. And I think that's how a lot of people take it. Whereas it's, we cannot be fully ourselves because we are afraid of making you uncomfortable. And it's such a projection because we're always comfortable. But what it is that we're so comfortable that other people become uncomfortable. It's like, well, why are they doing this? Why are they reacting this way? And it's like, that is where we need the spaces to where it's like, we can be 100% ourselves without judgment, without feeling the need to have to dilute who we are for other people's comfort. And I think that a lot of people don't understand it. They just say like, oh, you don't want us here. And they take it so personally. But you will never understand what it's like to walk into a room and not see someone like you.
Yes, we got this. They think everything is for them. I agree. And can't be 100% authentic. Yes. I mean, I'm getting chills at what you're saying. Like, I have no problems with these spaces, but this is exactly what people need to understand, that even this may not be your intention, the impact is there.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of things get lost in yoga. And that was one thing that I can say when my mentor and my yoga instructor said to me. She's like, impact versus intention. Your intentions can be the most pure-hearted intention, but what is the impact that you're having on that person? And then what are you learning from the reaction of that impact? Are you being like closed off from the experience? comfort because someone else is trying to raise your awareness? Or are you going to welcome this discomfort and then grow and let it be like a growing pain? And there's so many people who aren't ready for those growing pains. They'd rather stay in that place of comfortability and not have to own up to anything because they're comfortable in that space. And that's what question's about.
That right there is such a perfect summation of what we're talking about this last 30 minutes, is that people talking about yoga, appropriation of the culture, of the whitewashing of yoga, the toxicity of yoga, and these things, like, you're going to probably feel a little uncomfortable when this is brought up to you and get very defensive. But just like you said, like, that was so perfect. Like, feel what is making you uncomfortable. Why is this making you uncomfortable? What are you learning from it? And what are you going to bring back out there? One of my teachers from my YCT, just in the last week, completely unfollowed me, unfriended me, blocked me on social media because she didn't like some of the things that I was saying.
And that's
because
fine.
Her as my teacher and me speaking out against some of these things, she didn't want to face that. And again, like, my feelings were hurt for like 5 minutes.
No,
I was like,
no,
this is good. This is good. And I'm proud that I have teachers, like so many of the amazing people on this live right now, all of these teachers around me. Like, I'm so grateful that they're being so generous with these lessons, and that, I'm able to do that. But that's amazing.
I love
yoga, gotta grow with the flow. Love that.
Don't do yoga, gotta grow with the flow. Exactly. Growing with the flow. And I feel like that also, I think when I say there's a raising of awareness, there's also the spiritual aspect of yoga, getting in tune with yourself. And I feel like there's something with wanting people to stay in this unaware state, this unawakened, like, not in tune with themselves. That way they can just continuously force and move throughout life. Like, it's so weird. Like, when I say yoga has awakened me in a way where it's like I can see my purpose and I know what makes me happy, and I can realize when I am doing something that's in and out of alignment with my, like, true purpose. That is what I mean when I say, like, getting back to the spirituality of yoga, and that is really being taken out. And that's toxic because people need that in order to really be in their purpose. That's why we see so many people with, like, depression, anxiety, so much mental health is out there because people are disconnected spiritually, and not really in tune with what can truly make them happy. They're just going based off of what they think is marketed to them as happiness. Like, oh, if I buy this, if I do this, if I look this way, I will be happy. And then when they achieve that, it's not. And it's like, because you're not focused on the internal, and you're not growing internally, and you're not dealing with those conflicted feelings that are internal for that awareness. So that's definitely something that I wanted to talk about before we closed out.
Well, we hear the phrase, ignorance is bliss, right? Not knowing is going to keep me happy. And so when we start to hear these truths, we start to learn these things, we then become accountable. And for some people, accountability is just
kryptonite.
There you go.
It is.
There you go. It is kryptonite. That was perfect.
Yeah. It literally makes them sick to think that, damn, there's something I need to change about myself. There's something that I need to, like, be more aware of in myself. Yes. Yeah. There's room for growth in everyone. And I think that is what yoga is. It's continuous growth, continuous flow, continuous awareness. And, a toxic trait of yoga is trying to get us away from that.
Yeah. And it's so important for us to keep having these conversations. We're learning from other people. We need to keep having these conversations. When we start to be aware, when the blinders come off and we start seeing all these things that are going around it, that's the only way that we're going to change these things. This is the only way. Like, once you see it, you're going to see it.
Yeah.
You're going to see it a lot, and it's going to keep making you a little uncomfortable, but you'll be okay. I promise. You'll be okay.
I feel like that's what growth is. That's what growth is. I'm so excited. This was we just dove right in. It just got real. Woo!
I know.
we really didn't put a dent in it. I'm glad we did 2 parts because we would have had y'all here all night.
I know. And this is serious. Like, keep having these conversations. And as always, like, reach out to Trinity or myself. Like, we want to hear you. We're going to continue this next week. Do you remember what the topics next week? We're still continuing with this toxicity in yoga, but there were some specific things. It's not in the top of my head right now.
I'm going to go look. Okay, I'm sorry. I know. Okay.
Leave that spot. That is your spot in the house. Every time we've talked on the phone or FaceTime, I'm like, don't move. Just stay right there.
I said, okay, so next week we're going to be talking about the competitiveness of yoga, how it's super competitive, the good vibes only, toxic positivity in yoga. Damn, I forgot that quick. Is 2 other topics that we have. Hold on, I'm gonna look again. Give me one. Social media. I'm sorry. The social media complex and God-like complex of teaching. So those are like the 4 other topics that I know, mind blown, right? Because those are just, we just scratched the surface. But no, we're going deep in there because there's some things like real, just like, I'm the teacher. Yeah.
When Trinity asked me to do this, and she's like, we're going to dive deep, man. You weren't joking. We were diving deep. But I love it. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today and for your input, for your messages. We love it so much. And I hope that you're going to join us again next week. And again, like, shout out to Trinity. She's got 2 pages. Her yoga page is this one, the Witchy Yogi John. We got Superstars, got the Yoga Barbie doll. We got Ms. De Jour with a yoga class tomorrow, every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. It's a free yoga class. You can't be more accessible than that. And Kelly and anybody else is out there. Kelly's got some great content on her Facebook too. She's very good at amplifying other voices. This was just an amazing group. Eric was on here earlier. I don't know if he's still on here. He's got a great studio. He's fun to follow too. Those are the ones that I know.
You guys can follow me. I saw Gabby on here. If you're in Philly, Soul Garden was on here. They are beautiful Black-owned yoga. That's over near 10th and Spring Garden, right off of 10th and Spring Garden. Beautiful space. I think Gabby dropped in. She's also a beautiful yoga teacher that does beautiful things. I didn't really see a lot of other people. I forgot that y'all did that.
Here's my little friend, Ariana. She was one of my students when I did teen yoga. So nice to see you, Ariana.
Everyone is tuning in. And I have an announcement. So if you made it here before we go, I have an announcement. Tickets for my yoga in the parks will be going on sale.
Ooh, I know somebody's ready to get back into the yoga in the park.
I park today because it was decided to be 70 degrees, even though it snowed on Saturday. So we don't know what's happening. Like, send help. We don't know what's going on over here. But I want to thank you guys. I want to be honorable of everyone's time, especially yours, Jacqueline. I want to thank you because it's been amazing, and I cannot wait until next week.
Well, it's going to be fun.
Yes.
We'll see you all next week.
Keep a lookout for my yoga in the parks. They'll be Wednesday nights at 6:30.
Awesome. Thanks.
I love you guys, and I'm going to say goodnight. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. And now.